Welcome to the Principled Women in Business podcast with your host, Lauren Dulgeru, aka The Solutionist. You are about to discover priceless insights, experiences, and perspectives that will inspire and empower you to break down your own obstacles and reprogram your own limiting beliefs, all while raising women business owners to the pedestal that has been long awaiting, the coronation of true principled women in business. Welcome to the Principled Women in Business podcast.
Welcome. Do you want to do more business but don't really know what that means? Do you want to grow and scale your business so that you can sell for a top dollar and properly fund the lifestyle and retirement you've been planning for? Are you ready to do more business so that you can have the lifestyle you desire? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Principled Women in Business podcast, where we empower women business owners to overcome obstacles in business so that you can live the lifestyle you desire, reclaim your freedom of time, and create generational wealth. I'm your host, Lauren of the House of Salandria, aka The Solutionist, and I am here with you on this podcast today to empower you to do more business, multiply your valuation, and create freedom that only generational wealth can bring. And today, I must be honest, I am more excited than usual. I have a special guest with you. We have some new announcements. So it is refreshing to be here with you guys today to be sharing this very important message. And if you're a founder, a business owner, or looking to become a business owner, you need to be here with us today. Now, you've heard from my guests in the past, guys, and I always love having him speak with me because I've learned he's my mentor. What he knows and what he taught me, everybody truly needs to know, because that's where I found true transformation, transition, and true empowerment in business and in my life. Like I said, you've heard from him before. Without further ado, Al Mills, welcome here to the Principled Women in Business podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited about the conversation today.
I'm excited for so many reasons. Now, they might not know, they may not have seen all of the posts and the videos going on yet, but you are one of the panelists for the Founders Finish Line Experience, and that's premiering in February, where we're going to be showing business owners, founders, how they can get top dollar for their business, not have to pay those huge broker fees, and be able to do it quickly, because you want to be able to fund the retirement and move on, right?
Absolutely.
And so many people, when they think of selling a business, and that's really why I wanted to start this series with you, not only because you're one of the panelists, you're my mentor, but you know this stuff very well with me because you see it day in, day out as one of the family, one of the teammates. And so often when we're selling something, let's just go with the word big, a house, a business, whatever the case may be, we automatically think we need an agent, we need a broker to do it because we couldn't possibly do it by ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the misconception.
The huge part is that it's not just a monetary misconception that affects your pocketbook, but it could actually, over the course of time, affect how long you can remain retired and your quality of retirement. This whole concept of have to have a broker goes so deep, and you guys, you are in for a real trip today, so buckle in. Welcome to the Principled Women Business podcast, because we really have to unpack this. Are they brokers? Are they jokers? Or are they both? Where did this all begin? Where did we start to really become indoctrinated that we have to have a broker, an agent?
Well, and from my opinion, and once again, to all of the brokers out there, may they be business or real estate, love you to death, but we just need to share the naked truth. And so where does it all start from? It all starts back from a lack of confidence in an individual. Like we talk about in our private community, that you have to become a principal in the transaction. And so we have lost principalship, if you will, in knowing that we control the transaction. A buyer and a seller are primary principals in a transaction. And when you take that position, you don't need licenses.
You don't. And people automatically think they're a buyer or they're a seller. They never, ever consider that they're the principal.
That is correct. So that's the very first, misunderstanding that one has. The second is that specifically in the business space, small to medium-sized enterprises, most of the brokers, if you will, that are there are what we would call recovering real estate agents. What do I mean by that? These are real estate agents who are looking for other streams of income because, as you know, 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, and 20% of those boomers have businesses that may even be attached with commercial real estate. And so there's 2,000 businesses hitting the market that are the small businesses and may have commercial real estate. So this is where they feel as though they can be entitled to be a part of that process or fraternal order because there is real estate attached with the sale. Because there's two types of way to buy a business, right? It's either an asset sale or stock membership interest sale. And so most of the time it is an asset sale. And so the two parties don't believe that they're principals. So they think that they need a broker, in this example, a realtor as a broker to transact that transaction.
And, as you and I work so closely together, so we know, but as people really start to unpack that they can control their transaction, that they can get everything they want, and they start to see the true magic about being the principal, about being the primary. I love seeing the lights behind the eyes when they're like, wow, I can do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, without a doubt, you can do that. Again, you're going to save a pretty penny. The average commission, if you will, is between 10 and 15% of your sales price. Go figure.
Go figure. And then that person that you're going to pay 10 to 15%, what are they actually doing? They're listing it on a form. They're not writing these huge, beautiful write-ups 9 times out of 10. They're putting it into these little spaces on a form. They're going to press save. Hopefully they put in the right website and the phone number, and they answer the voicemails and respond to them. That's one thing that I've found early on in my career is even when you're calling brokers, you're interested in purchasing a business, you've been working with a seller, brokers, it's so difficult to get them on the phone, to get the answers out of them. Mm-hmm. But then they still want their 10 or 15%, no questions asked.
Again, that's coming back from the recovering realtor, real estate agent in that space. It's about pre-qualifying buyers. So one of the sad statistics that most need to know is only 1 out of 12 businesses that are listed with a business broker will sell. And the reason for that can be a myriad of things, but the most one that sticks out is that the broker who's vetting the buyers are treating them like real estate investors, where they're asking for proof of funds and various things like that, where the reality is the business, you're buying cash flow, EBITDA or SDE, and that's your personal qualification. So that in itself causes that 1 in 12 event to happen.
Yes, professional buyers, when you have a business broker, send me your proof of funds. Especially in the business world, you kind of get that look like, I'm sorry, didn't know that I was buying an apartment building. What happened?
Right. Exactly.
And that comes back to, are they qualified? Have they founded a business? Have they grown it, scaled it? Have they exited? Have they multiplied their own valuation? How are they qualified to take this 10 to 15%? If they're going to take the form and they're going to fill in the form, they're going to do all the phone calls, voicemails, okay. But how else are you qualified? How many?
Well, here's the second.
Let's be honest. How many of them actually did any of those things for an extended period of time and were successful?
Well, that's real life experience, but let's talk about the governing body. There is no legal multiple listing service for businesses. There is no licensed business broker certification that you need to have. It doesn't
I'm
exist.
so glad you brought that. I'm so glad you brought that.
Does not exist.
I was headed there next. And again, this comes back to sellers selling a business. Oh, no, they have to be a member of this association or that association. They don't have to be a member. It's nice. It looks pretty on the website. It looks great on the resume. But they do not lawfully, legally have to be. And people really don't realize that.
Well, you made a key point, lawful versus legal. And again, this is my little disclaimer. My attorneys and my legal team would have my head for this, but we're not offering legal or tax or any kind of investment advice. But the reality is there is a difference between legal and lawful. We have a saying that you need a license to do something that's not lawful. So here's an example of operating in your lawfulness. When you are a seller and a buyer and the two of you are privately transacting, you're in your private capacity, which is a lawful process. When you are selling somebody else's stuff or assets, now you might need to be licensed because you are now functioning as a fiduciary.
Fiduciary in the legal process.
In the legal process, that is correct.
Yes. And I'm glad that did come up because people often, they have that look. Some people do know. More people need to know. So I'm glad that came up on the call here today because even brokers hardly ever have heard the difference between those two words, those two terms.
Yeah. Most of them.
But then they claim but then they claim that they have to have a license to do something or they have to do something. So that's interesting how that came up. And you had kind of touched on, the fact that, from our experience, they become, honestly, I know some brokers are probably listening to the show here today, but no shade, guys, no shade, deal killers. How many transactions don't go through? 1 in 13? That was just one portion of that statistic. The rest of it is they're putting you back into their buyer, quote unquote, network so they can show their next potential listing that they have qualified buyers. Even though those buyers don't know that they're being marketed back on the other side to be getting more business.
That is correct. Well, that's the thing. Let's talk about the profession of brokering, right? So technically you have to represent some side, right? If you represent a seller in a transaction, would you ever give the buyer the best deal possible? There's a conflict there. So how could you represent the seller and want to get the highest and best offer, but then yet most buyers who are coming through a business broker portal doesn't have the alleged representation? And so that broker pretty much is sitting on both sides of the table, just trying to get a deal done.
Exactly. And if the potential buyer doesn't have representation, be it a broker, be it an attorney or a fiduciary, whoever is going to represent you, you don't have anybody on your side, but the seller does. But then the broker will tell the buyer, oh, no, I'm trying to do everything that's good for you too. Oh, I'm communicating everything. But you don't actually know that's happening.
Correct.
So not all shade, because not all brokers are unqualified, don't earn their keep, don't go out of their way. That's not a blanket. That's not a blanket assumption. There are some out there who really do go out of their way. But I have found even with them, the difference between SDE and EBITDA, however you'd like to pronounce it, that's not always understood. So those important, unless you have an MBA or there's people on your team with MBAs or however you're structured that has that knowledge, so often they're telling sellers, well, we can get you, 3 or 4X.
Right.
But those are industry standards on an EBITDA, not an SDE, which are very different models and different structures.
Well, that comes back to the point of experience, right? So in the small to medium-sized enterprises, also known as SME, we have something that we would call what? Like you mentioned, there's EBITDA, which is for a professionally managed company. SDE is for owner operator. But what about the words merger and acquisition? In order to really represent or to really transact well, you have to have had experience in either companies merging together or another company acquiring another company. And if you've never had that experience or exposure to those two concepts individually, then how can you transact a deal? How can you put a deal together if you don't know the intricacies of what is needed to complete a sale, an acquisition? Now, most of the time a broker will say, they're just gathering information, putting parts together, and then they're going to pass it on to legal to draft up an agreement. But the problem is, in the letter of intent stage, it's so tedious and cumbersome, the information or the way that you speak back and forward translating information could become very, very taxing at minimum.
Taxing, and then you also have the phenomenon of the telephone game. Mm-hmm. Where unless you're using, certified notices or, trackable emails, you always have that telephone game, and it adds more time. It becomes more tedious.
Mm-hmm. But
and
sellers,
potentially
if they're aware,
more costly.
Mm-hmm. But the sellers are aware that they can. Well, here's the sad thing too. 1 out of 12 to 13, if you will, sell. Now, just imagine this. Here's one of the fears, if I was a seller, that a seller needs to consider. If you put your business for sale on a popular business broker site, and there are some major players there, I'm not going to speak their names, but they are major players and they do create a lot of volume. But you also let your competitors know that you're for sale. Yeah. And sometimes your competitors can window shop you, get access to your financials, and maybe look to undercut you to be able to buy you at a devaluation as opposed to through the front door with the broker. So there are some risk and rewards there from even listing it on a public site.
Let's jump down that little rabbit hole that you, with our competitors jumping in. Not only are you exposing your financials, right? For years prior, literally, you're opening up everything. All the skeletons and the skeletons are coming out. And the last one you want to have it is the competitor. But let's go a little deeper on this. This is going to be another episode, but let's just tap on it right now so that everyone knows you have to keep track to look for the new one coming. How often do you look at an LOI and they say, oh, yeah, we're going to keep your employees. We're going to keep them on. We're not going to fire them. No, we would never downsize them. No, not at all. We care. We care.
We care. Well, here's the thing.
We care.
Most small to medium-sized owners have a different psychology than a big corporate owner of a company, because it's more a lot of psychological profiles where they're concerned about their staff. They want to be able to sell their business with a good set of hands, caring hands, the good hands people, if you will. and be able
but
to
if
say,
you're working under the influence of an unscrupulous broker or an unexperienced broker or just doesn't know broker, these items aren't brought up.
Correct.
These topics aren't bridged. You don't talk about what is your ideal buyer? Who do you want your ideal buyer? Those aren't conversations. But that's funny that you did bring that up.
Well, that's why we exist. That's why we're here. We saw that need in the marketplace, and we're looking to fill it, right?
Everyone
we can help
has to benefit.
Correct. A win-win must exist.
Everybody has to benefit, and it can't just be a quick one-off benefit. That's one thing that's different about us, and that you as my mentor certainly groomed into me, is you can't just benefit somebody once. It has to be over and over with more and more, behind that. Because we want to work with people that we know, like, and trust. Doesn't everyone want to work with someone they know, they like, they trust, and they know that we're going together?
Well, what we do is basically we want to turn that upside down, and we want you to trust us, right? like us, then know us. That's a different way of looking at this. And the best way that we create trust is that we tell them the truth about industry multiples. We look at we kind of share the difference between a professionally managed and a mom and pop shop. That makes the world of a difference, of a new purchaser coming in, which are most purchasers are not looking to work in a business 15 hours a day. They're looking for passive income. And so this is what we uniquely do. And at the Founders Finish
we show
line,
them how to build that up.
We're going to show them how to build a proper team. Because again, let's go back to why businesses fail. Let's forget about 1 in 13 sell. But what about success?
Yeah.
Think about that. 23% of businesses fail because they don't have the right team. So when I'm saying failure right now, I'm talking about you're that 2 in 12 out of that 1 in 13 that don't sell is because you didn't enlist the right team. So you got a 23%.
Now let's be clear on team. Let's be clear on team. We're not just talking sales team or just customer service team. We're talking professionally managed big business teams. We're not talking sales and marketing. So we just I wanted to clear that up. We're building whole teams here because we can't do it ourselves. We're not islands.
That is correct. A wise man always seeks wise counsel. So before you make decisions, you should have a team of wise advisors that can help you reach where you want to go. That's the best way to go about it. Not just worried about a commission check. And again, we're not here to disavow realtors or brokers on the whole, but there's a lot more involved. And I think with more education and more exposure these brokers or agents have with working with experienced people in merger and acquisition, we can bridge that gap. So really, this call is not just about sellers or founders, but even brokers. If you want to be a part of a winning team, right? Let's collaborate together. Instead of compete, let's collaborate.
Indeed. Because how many people have time to, put together that full team of industry specialists, the M&A, the MBA, all of that? It's already in place. Let's go together. Let's build a team together. And that is what's so exciting about the Founders Finish Line, guys, which is coming February 23rd. It is a 4-day exclusive luxury business retreat. You guys, there is only 11 suites being sold. Make sure you're there. If you're looking to get the highest multiple for your business, to exit, to fund your retirement, to live that lifestyle, to get every time, to understand all of the happen. Because you're not going to get a little notebook and we're going to go through. No. We are going to do it. All of this is about doing it. We're cutting through the fluff. All of the panelists are industry family members. We're coming in together to make sure that you guys get to experience everything that we know, all of our experience, because more people need to have that.
And it's all going to be
done. And as we have... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's all going to be done without a broker.
Without a broker, more stays in your pocket. Without a broker, more stays in your pocket. You get your privacy back. You don't have to worry about your competitors. Your employees are in a safe pair of hands. You're working with professionals that do this all the time. So there's so much that's going to be coming forward. This series from Founders Finish Line, everyone listening out there, 11 suites. The early bird is ending soon. So get in right away. I will put the link in the description, and you can always check the Principled Women in Business LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Al, I think you've got it. It's all over the place, you guys. This is huge. You cannot miss it.
If you're really serious about growing, scaling, and exiting at higher multiple, I would urge you to be there. If you look at the clear return on the investment, what you're gonna invest in for that 4 days will save you, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in broker fees. I have to just want to say that.
Well, let's take that farther. Not only hundreds of thousands of dollars in broker fees, but if you can get more over the smaller piece of a larger pie and not ever have to worry about having to go back to work as a Walmart greeter, as a grocery store cashier, as a gas station attendant, what would that be worth to you? Because honestly, if I was approaching retirement, there's still that in the back of your mind. What if the market goes south? What if? If you're tied into those markets, yeah, there is always that. But if you're tied into your baby, which you've had for years, you get so much more out of it.
True indeed.
And not going back to work, what is the value that you would assign to that, Al? Because I'm not sure if I have one. I would have to sit and think on that.
Infinite return. Sure.
There would be no dollar amount that I could assign to that. And that's really the biggest, huge picture that comes from the immediate impact, is you now get to put that thought to rest.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Can't wait.
I'm excited. I know I wake up every day glowing. I'm shouting from rooftops. Everyone, I'm sure you guys have heard me by now. So Al Mills, the prophetic financier, thank you for coming on with me today. I am looking forward to our next few episodes where we are going to be talking about how to be getting wealthy from your business exit without giving business brokers huge commissions. And each episode, we're going to be uncovering more and more of what you thought didn't exist. But we really have to expose that to you, because Founder's Finish Line is where all of that is going to come into a magical culmination of retirement, generational wealth, time, freedom. Everything is going to be coming together that weekend in February at that 4-day luxury retreat, where you're going to be really multiplying that valuation. You know, when was the last time you thought about working with a mergers acquisition person as opposed to, let me just tell my business? So, Al, thank you for being here with me on the Principled Women in Business podcast. Always, it is a pleasure. And I know you're looking forward to February. We've been talking about it a lot. Our other panelists are going to be joining us here shortly, guys. So, again, I am Lauren of the House of Salandria, a.k.a. the Solutionist, and I am here to empower you to do more business. For freedom. Because want to, and that empowers women in business, making sure that you are joining that platform and that. Spending your time with me here today. It has been an honor, and I look forward to our next episode. Until next time.
And that wraps up another episode of the Principled Women in Business podcast. Follow us on social media to never miss an episode and to unlock full access to your trusted business solution center. Find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, and YouTube. Till next time, stay strong and keep crushing. Find us at laurendulgeru.me or call 407-337-1117.